on the YouTube. All right, now please check got it. Do not check leave meeting. I see that our YouTube connection is now working. So we are visible to the public, and I just want to let everybody know that. Just it's good to keep that in the back of your mind. I'm Evelyn Wilson. I'm chair of the nominating commission. I'm a non-voting chair, and we have a couple of new members to the commission. I want to welcome all of you. And so what I'd like to do is, since we have some new members, it's good to see everyone. I'm one of the old members or seasoned members, and I'm going to call the commission meeting to order for the 10th Judicial District Nominating Commission. I'm going to read everyone's name, and I'll just ask you when I read your name to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get started with the meeting. I know everyone is busy. I'll go ahead and start. I'm Evelyn Wilson. I'm a justice on the Kansas Supreme Court. I have been a justice for almost 2.5 years. Before that, I was a district judge in Shawnee County for about 15 years. And before that, I was a practicing attorney in private practice, 2 different locations, one rural and one urban. And I did that for about 19 years. So the next person on the list is Tom Bath.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. I am private practice in Leawood, Kansas. I've been in private practice since '92. Before then, I was with the Johnson County DA's office from '86 to '92. And I've been on this commission, I don't know, my second term, I think, however long terms are. So welcome, everybody.
All right, thank you. And Judge Thomas Kelly Ryan.
Thank you, Justice Wilson. I'm Kelly Ryan. I am a district court judge since 2008 here in Olathe. I handle a criminal docket, and I went through the gauntlet of the commission back in 2008 to get to this position, and I'm honored to be joining you as a member of the commission.
All right, thank you. Samuel Turner, Sr.
Hi, my name is Sam Turner, and I believe I'm in my second term on the commission. I'm a layperson, former hospital healthcare administrator.
Doug.
Thank you. And Stephen Tatum.
I'm Steve Tatum, and I'm a retired judge, and I've worked with some of the attorneys here on the commission. And my docket was always criminal, and just enjoying life.
Just stand out of the picture and then you go.
I had to mow the other day in the heat. That was not fun. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. All right. And James Griffith.
Hello, I'm James Griffith. I am a lay member of the commission. This is also my second term on the commission. I work in the software development industry where I lead an engineering team based both remotely and out of Overland Park.
Thank you. And Michael Zanigi.
Here, please.
You did very well with that name, Zinigi. Yeah,
Zanigi. Okay, thanks.
I'm a lay member. My claim to fame is I've never seen the inside of a courtroom. I'm a 30-year resident of Overland Park. I was the CIO, Chief Information Officer at AMC Theaters for 13 years, same role at Applebee's for 4, and a partner at Ernst & Young for about 8 years. And before that, it's pretty much ancient history. I'm really happy to be here.
All right, great. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
And Stephanie Moore.
Hi, nice to see everybody. I'm in my first term, a lay member with this group. My background is as a registered nurse in women's health. I was appointed in the regional director of the United States Department of Health and Human Services for Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa in the Obama administration. I am not an attorney, of course, but hung out with a lot of attorneys and married to one for well over 30 years. So happy to be here and good to see you folks.
All right, thank you. Good to see you again. Rick Gwynn.
Rick Gwynn. I've been in private practice since 2009. Employment law is the area that I specialize in. I worked at the DA's office for a long time before that and know a number of people, attorney people on this commission through that employment, and I'm proud to be a member of the commission.
Thank you. And Annabeth Serba.
Hi, well, I'm a longtime elected official. The last was the County Commissioners Board Chairman. And I think I have the dubious honor of being not only the eldest member on this committee, but the longest serving member on this committee.
All right. Well, welcome. I look forward to working with you again, and your input is always valuable. Kevin Moriarty.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Annabeth, I am the longest serving. I've been on 2 years. I'm starting my fourth. I'm in my fourth term, so I've been on for a long time. So it's fun. I'm retired. I'm driving back from Manhattan, where I did some criminal mediation today. So I'm in my car.
Okay. Well, we'll try not to have anything that's too earth-shattering, so that you can continue to drive safely. And if you feel like you have to quit, we will understand and make you chair of all the committees.
Right.
But the one who gets the gold star today has got to be Laura McConwell, who is next, who is, I'll let her let us know, unless, there you are. I'll let Laura let us know why you get the gold star.
Oh, I get the gold star because it's 6 o'clock in the morning where I am. I'm in Guam for trial. So I'm in private practice, and I have been the entire time that I've practiced. I practice in Mission. I've been involved in Bar Association activities for a number of years. I am also a former elected official, and this is my second term. And I'm an attorney member, elected attorney member.
Thank you. Greg Musel.
Good afternoon. I am also an attorney member in my second term on the nominating commission. I live in Overland Park. My law office is in Leawood. I'm also a member of the Johnson County Community College Board of Trustees and have lived in Johnson County, Overland Park since 1987.
All right, thank you. Doug Brownlee.
I'm Doug Brownlee, and I'm in my second term on the commission as a layperson. I work for a faith-based nonprofit, mentor men, help them grow in a relationship with Jesus. And prior to that, I was a mortgage banker in the area for 35 years. My wife and I live in Olathe.
All right, thank you. And I don't think Josie Herrera has joined us, but speak up if you have. Okay, that consists of the 10th Judicial District Nominating Commission, and you are the first group that I worked with as chair of the commission within my department. And you have the most members of a commission, and you are the only commission under the auspices of my department that has its own set of rules. So it was quite intimidating for me to start out, but I have grown to think very, very highly, and that happened very quickly. I think highly of all of you and look forward to working with you again. The first thing I would like to do is review the purpose of the meeting, which is to discuss the nomination process to fill 3 new district judge positions in Johnson County. And these district judge positions were certified by the Supreme Court Administrative Order 2022 JA 20 after the Kansas legislature passed, and the governor signed 2022 House Substitute for Senate Bill 267 to fund them. And so the next thing I'd like to do is consider appointment of a secretary. In the past, Kevin Moriarty has served as secretary, and I would consider either a nomination for that position, and then we'll talk about if you want to make a nomination, if that person is willing to serve. So I think that's the next order of business. And Laura McConwell, your hand's up.
Well, did Kevin Moriarty decide he wanted to resign as secretary?
No, he has been, but I think every time we do this, we talk about this. Are you willing to continue, Kevin?
Sure, I've got the notes down now, and I don't have any problem doing it. unless somebody else is just wanting to do it, and I'll relinquish.
Okay, well, if we hear any screaming, we might roll away.
Okay.
Well, I nominate Kevin Moriarty.
Okay, is there a second? Laura
Second.
McConwell. Second, Sam Turner, seconded. That was the first one I saw. And is there any discussion?
I just want to know if he's driving or if he's parked now. That's what I want to know.
Actually, I'm recording and driving and looking ahead because I was listening to a book on tape, and this is a lot less interesting than that.
Well, thank you very much. Is there any other discussion? All right. If you will, all in favor signify by raising your hand, and you can't count mine. So I see that the motion has carried. Congratulations, Kevin. You will continue as our secretary. And I think I mentioned before we went on YouTube, before we were all here, that it's my preference, if there's no objection, to be a little informal with the names, so we can call everyone by their first name. And if anyone objects to that, I would understand. There are situations where that is certainly appropriate, and you might think this is one of them. So otherwise, seeing no objection, we'll continue that way. And the next thing are the minutes from the December meeting. And so if you have those minutes and have, I would turn your attention to them.
I would move for approval of the minutes from the November 2020.
Okay, this is December. I think the November ones have already been approved. I think maybe we sent them out. I wasn't sure at first if they had been approved, but we have investigated. They have been approved. So it's
whatever the last meeting was where we
right.
wrote in the meeting minutes. I'm just looking at the agenda.
Okay.
Is that,
Sorry
was that
about
just
that.
No, it says December 9th.
Yeah, December 9th,
December 9th.
2020. Okay,
Mhm.
December 9th, 2020. That was when we selected the three names that went to the governor, including who now Judge
J. Ram.
J. Ram. Yes.
Annabeth seconds.
All right, Annabeth seconds. Is there any discussion on the December 9th minutes? All in favor signify by raising your hand so we can all see it. All right, motion carried. And the nomination form, I'd like to turn your attention to that. We have previously amended the form before the last application process. And the only addition that I would propose is to make sure that we have the residence address on the application form. Some of my best lessons are those that were hard fought and hard earned, and I have taking a deep dive into the statutes. We cannot consider an applicant who lives outside of the district, which would be outside of Johnson County, unless there is an insufficient number of qualified applicants who live in the district. So that's why it's very important that we have the residence address so we can confirm that when they apply, they live in the district. Is there any objection to including the residence address in the current form?
I think
I
it's a
thought
great.
it was already.
Yeah, I thought it was on it too.
Yeah. Well, I think we've added it. It's sometimes it says address, and a lot of people will put their business address.
Oh.
Obvious reasons, because they don't want people I mean, it's private information where you live. And so I can understand that, but it's, in this instance, it's important that it designate the residents.
Yeah, I don't have an objection to making sure we make it clear that it has a residential address.
All right. Kelly, your hand's up. Do you
I'm
agree?
looking at it. It has both residence address and office address.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I thought it did.
All right. Well, my apologies then if that's already clear.
In the updated one, I put that in and I forgot to make it red. I do apologize.
Oh, okay. So you updated it without noting that it's new? Okay. Okay. Well, in any case, it's clear that we want to have the residents designated. All right. Now the next question is,
do you want us to vote to adopt this nomination form if it's different?
we can. Is there a motion? Unless
Sure.
there are any other changes you want to make.
I make that motion. I do notice that even on the authorization of release, it has the residence requirement on it to the address. So it's in two
Should
places.
be there also. Okay.
So I make that motion.
And I'll second.
Justice Wilson, there was one more item. The website it is actually listed on the form that you were going to ask about.
Right. There's a designation on the form that they can refer to the website. But there are some things that haven't been updated completely on the website. It doesn't have all of the photos. The list of the commission isn't quite updated. So since there's a possibility you may want to remove the indication that they can look at the website. I don't know that it hurts anything, but we just need to kind of make sure that the website is updated from time to time.
And Justice Wilson, that is actually done by, we've actually done in the past to the court system here in Johnson County, to the court administrator's office. Is that still the way you want to do it?
Well, it doesn't matter to me how it's done, but whoever has that responsibility may or may not always prioritize that responsibility. I'm not saying that to be to denigrate whoever's in charge of it, but it's something that one doesn't often think about. So you do have a separate website. In some ways, it's nice to refer to it on the form, but if we're going to remove that reference, we need to do that before we approve the final form. Yes, Laura?
I would prefer not to remove it, because even though some of our pictures and things are out of date, that we need to, and I think I was emailing with Michelle about this, get it up to date. There still are a lot of things that are very relevant and I think would be things that applicants would want to know that is contained on the site. There is quite a bit of history. And if you're an applicant, I think there's, they can read through prior minutes. There's just a lot that they can see how it's transpired. The only thing that I'll get to the next thing. So I would vote to leave it on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. The minutes aren't up to date. Those need to be brought up to date. So if, Kevin, if you think that the court administrator has been doing that.
Yeah.
Kelly, do you?
As the newbie here and probably the one closest to that, it's not actually the court administrator, but I'll be happy to oversee, and because I don't know how to do it, but I'll get the people who know how to update that with as long as they give me the new minutes, and when we have the updated information on all the members, we can bring it up to date. I agree with Laura that we should leave that on the application form, and a lot of people will refer to the website.
Right.
Okay,
And
maybe
we take a picture. We take a picture at the next meeting, and then we put that one on, and then that'll be on there till the next time around.
Okay. Tom, were you going to say something?
Yeah, Laura's correct. There's a lot of history there. If you look at Musil's picture, he's got a full head of hair. And I really think that should stay in
God, it
place.
must be an old picture.
Okay, well, if it's all right with you, then Kelly, we'll put you in charge of spearheading the update, and you can reach out to whoever you want to, the court administrator, and I'm sure Michelle will assist whoever in getting all the updated minutes and things like
And
that.
Kevin, can you send me whatever minutes that
Yeah.
aren't on there yet?
I've got them there, but Cheryl Rogers is the one who does it, just so you'll
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
And since the form says that the application should be submitted to the secretary of the commission, I think when you go back to the sixth page, it probably ought to, under Kevin's name, it probably ought to state that he's secretary of the commission. So there's no confusion at all.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We'll add that name, assuming that everyone still wants the applications to be mailed or submitted to the secretary. Is that during COVID, I think they were submitted to us, weren't they, Michelle? Did they come to us or did they still go to Kevin? I can't remember.
They came
It went to Kevin.
They came to me because I doled them out.
Right.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right, and the notice of vacancy, I assume that you only want to send that to persons who live in Johnson County.
Yes.
Yes.
We can always readdress that if we have an insufficient number of qualified candidates. Perish the thought. Yes, Kelly?
Justice Wilson, I know other districts are different, but Lisa will still put out a notice from OJA's office that goes out to all of the state saying that we're making these applications, so that if there are people who are considering moving here, may apply.
Right. They may apply, but if they want to be considered and they're, I mean, it's just, they probably don't want to wait till they're invested. Yes, Greg.
This is one of my pet peeves that I've tried to help with the community college when we have public meetings like this, to avoid or to at least explain what abbreviations mean. So OJA is the Office of Judicial Administration with the Kansas Supreme Court, so that citizens paying attention can actually understand our jargon, and probably for Mike too, as a newcomer and some of the other new lay people. That's a specific term of art that we all understand, but hopefully Office of Judicial Administration makes more sense.
Thank you very much for saying that, Greg. Sometimes those things just fly right by me because we use them so much. So don't be afraid to ask a question either if you hear something like that. Mike.
Yeah, Evelyn, is following up on Greg's comment. Is there, a list of what the acronyms are? I mean, sometimes in IT and other places we'll have, a list of here are the commonly used acronyms that are going to confuse most new people, and then we just have them out there. So if one exists, that's great. If not, I'll just be the guy that asks the question each time.
I don't know of a list.
Okay.
I don't think we use a lot of acronyms, but I might be wrong. I might miss some too. Do you know of a list, Kevin?
No, but I can make one up because it'll be like sync and DV. So I'll do the ones that I would assume might come up in a typical discussion.
Okay, that'd be nice.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Justice, a question on, you said maybe people could move into our district and then apply. How much time do they have to be in our judicial district to qualify to make an application?
Well, when you interview them, I would say probably they would have to already be a resident of the district. Because when you consider who you want to name to go to the governor, at that point in time, you can only consider someone outside the district if you have an insufficient number of qualified in-district applicants. So
This is a fairly fast track, at least what we're looking at. So I just don't know if anybody could move in and establish residency or not. I just don't know for sure.
Laura?
Why ask?
Okay, Laura?
I didn't want to move on to your number 4 dates until we were finished with the nomination. So I just want to, the form, have we approved that?
Oh,
form?
yeah, right, yeah. Anything else on the form? Okay, we are leaving the name of the website. We are continuing to send the application forms to the secretary. We're clearly delineating the residence address, and no other changes or updates. Is there a motion to that form?
So moved.
All right, Annabeth Serbaugh moved. Second?
Second.
Laura seconds. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right, I see that is enough for it to pass. Okay, moving on to number 4, dates. We have 3 important dates that I've been able to think of anyway, and feel free to add if you can think of them. The first would be the date that the attorneys must file the applications. And usually we indicate a time on the day of noon, if that's all right, because I think that would allow Kevin to be where he needs to be to collect them. So I've made some suggestions of possibly 5 weeks or 6 weeks, which 5 weeks from tomorrow would be June 17th. Is there a motion? Laura?
Yes, ma'am. I would ask actually that the notice go out the week after May 12th, or go out the 17th, because it'll give Kelly time to get our application updated on our website. And then, because that's pretty critical, since we have changed the form. In the past, we've had an issue where there's, we might get a current form or an old form. And I think it's critical that we have make sure that the new form is on the website. And if they go out tomorrow, that may not have happened because somebody may have already pulled the form as soon as they see the notice. So that would be my.
So are you saying June the 24th then?
Well, no, I'm saying that send it, instead of sending a notice out. So that we need, and it really, the length of time depends on how long they can do the background. No, I'm sorry, I lied. Yeah, and then I don't care about the other dates, but if you're going to do 5 or 6 weeks, I think that pushes us out to the 24th or the 30th.
Okay, so you would like for the notice to go out on, you said the 17th?
Yeah, Kelly, do you think that would give time to get the new application on our website? I just don't think it'll happen by the 12th, but.
I'm going to send the form to her today, and
okay,
as long as she can get to it, I would hope by first part of next week. I don't know if you want to set a hard and fast date and say if she has it up there, I'll just say we have to have it by Monday or Tuesday next week, whatever day you want to send out the notice.
Would probably work out a little better for our offices if it's 17th rather than Wednesday the 18th, because we have court week next week. So we're gonna be very busy with things going on, but Tuesday would be a little easier day. So if she can get it on by Monday, at least the form, the minutes are not as critical, but the form certainly needs to be on by Monday. Then we can get the notice out by the 17th, but today's the 12th, Wednesday, the 12th. So if it goes out next Tuesday, it still would be a little more than 4 weeks if you have it June 17th. June 24th would be just a touch over 5 weeks. So I would just, Greg.
I agree with Laura that we ought to have the application update on the website before the notice goes out. Oftentimes, usually when we've done this, we have one vacancy because we have a judge retiring. And I think to the extent there's any urgency, it's getting somebody in to fill that vacancy. These are 3 new positions, so I would rather we extend the period of time to get applications in, particularly since last time we only had 8 applications. And with 3 positions, I'm hoping that we will get more applications, and I would rather go to at least the 24th or even the 30th or July 1st for applications. I don't see the need to rush it by a week or 2. I'd rather extend it.
You know, Greg, I can completely agree with you. Very much, Greg. I think we don't have to be in that much of a hurry. You're right. So.
Okay. Do you have a date in mind?
Well, first, you should let Tom disagree with me. He raised his hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at my calendar. I'm sorry, Tom. I missed you.
So I have a question for the group, which is to Greg and Judge Tatum's point. Like, I know Shawnee County is trying to fill 2 retiring spots, and they've got somebody who's taken leave this summer. They're in a tight spot, but we're not, because we're not filling retired judges' spots. Are we required to have to do all 3 positions at one time? And is there a time frame where we have to have these names to the governor, or can we do them one at a time? I'm not suggesting we should. I'm just asking.
We don't have to, but I would push back a little bit on your premise. The reason we got these 3 positions is because the weighted caseload showed that we really needed 3 more positions. So Judge Ryan might have a different, well, you'd probably have the best take on how busy you guys are. You know, how urgent are these positions, do you think?
I'm sure if you took a poll of the 23 judges here right now, they'd say they would like to have the interviews tomorrow. But I think also from the legislative perspective, from those people who were really working with the legislature to get this funding, which was frankly unexpected, certainly to get even 1, but to get 3 was, no one anticipated this, because I've asked, and I think the general tone was everyone across the state that have all these 23 new positions should be expediting it and trying to utilize the funds because it has been funded, and that the legislature is looking at how the appointments are made and the usage of these new positions. So there's a real oversight that they're going to have on this. And I'm not suggesting rush, but I think it's hopeful that you would do all 3 from our perspective. I don't know how the governor would take that then, if the governor would pick from a group and say, here's the 3 I want, or if they do 1, come back and reevaluate another group of 3. I don't know how that would work either.
Well, I think we should send 3 and then it's done.
I agree completely with Judge Ryan. We should do all 3. We can do that.
KSA 2910 does anticipate, I mean, it talks about a situation where you have 2 or more vacancies. So it's anticipated that might happen sometimes. You have to have at least 3. I'll get right to you, Laura, after I finish. You have to have at least 3, no more than 5 for each applicant. So one possibility that you might consider, that I've been thinking about how that might be done with the 3, You could send, for example, 5 names for each one, the same 5 names, I think. You could consider that. You could send 3 for one position, 4 for the next position, 5 for the third position. If you've got the same, if you have an idea of who the top 3 or top 5 are, you might be able to do it that way, or just submit 5 for each position. That might work, and ask the governor to pick 3.
Just, we did have that situation sometime years and years ago when we had 2 positions and we selected 4, but we sent the top 3 up. And after somebody was picked, added that 4th person back in for the second choice.
I see. Laura, you were.
We've actually done that twice.
Yeah. I was just going to follow up what they had said. There was a time, I think it was in 2012. I don't know the time before that, where 3 were sent for divisions were open, 3 were sent, 4 were picked, 3 were sent for the one, and the 4th one was sent after the first division was selected.
Can I say something? I don't know if you can see me.
Yes.
I think that we ought to go ahead and select, put all 3 in at the same time, and then later in this discussion, try to figure out how many names to put in, because it can be anywhere from 5 to whatever. But the only thing is that for the court, seniority becomes important. So I guess the next court number will be 20, 21, and 22. So I think we could assume that number 20 has seniority over 21 and 22 and so forth. That's the only thing that may make a difference to the courts. But having the 3 positions opened at once, I think we had 3 positions because they think we need them, and I know we do need them. And then to answer Tom's second question, the governor has 60 days from the time she gets the names to make the selection.
Right. Greg?
I think it's important. I think this is a very important discussion that we need to decide and announce before the interviews start as to how we're going to make selections. We are statutorily authorized to make either 3 or 5 names to the governor for each position. But how we do that, I think, is important to the interviewees, the candidates. And particularly for anybody relatively new to this, I think it's important to think through this. So I don't think it affects when we set the application deadline. So I'm going to suggest that we set that deadline and that we then set another meeting of the commission when we've thought about how we might want to do it, so we can come back and discuss that at a later time, because I don't know that all of us are, I haven't fully thought out how I think would be the best way to do it. I want to get the schedule set and interview everybody that is going to be one of those 3 positions at one time. And between now and those interviews, to make a decision as to how we're going to present those to the governor. So I guess my suggestion is we don't have to solve that today. What we're solving for today is the application deadline.
Okay. Rick?
I appreciate Greg's comments. I agree with Greg's proposed approach. I think it would be helpful for those of us who are on the commission that have ideas as to how best to proceed, to maybe get those ideas to you, Justice, so that they can be dispersed to the membership, and we can kind of, before we meet again on a Zoom call, have an idea of 3 or 4 different approaches as to how best to do it before we have that Zoom call.
Does anyone object to that?
Well, the question, would that violate open meetings?
Well, it's okay for it to come to me. I can, and then Greg, you're an expert on this, so I'll let me know if you think I'm wrong. But I think you can send it to me, and then I can send it out to everyone. Right?
I think so long as it's sent out to everyone at the same time and made public at the same time, as part of the agenda or otherwise, then we're fine. So I think we can do it that way, as long as it's out to the public ahead of time for the discussion at a public meeting.
before we go on to the next thing to talk about the dates, if I could just, because I've thought about this quite a bit, and it's going to be up to you all, of course, what you want to do. But I thought one way might be that you might want to choose your top 3 and send that for the first position. And then for the second position, the same 3 plus 1. So depending on who is chosen for the first position, one of those 3, then you're left with 2 plus 1 for the second position. And then for the last position, you could have the same 3 names plus the 4th name plus the 5th name. So then you would end up for the third position with 3 names left. That's kind of a sequential process that if you want to choose the top 3 and then the top 4 and then the top 5, if you have an idea, or the other one was just 5, 5, and 5, which would leave you with at least 3 of those 5 for each position. Yeah, Kelly.
I might offer an alternative thought, just because I have been thinking about this, is that you send all 5 or 6 up, because otherwise, if you do it that way, you're going to have someone selected. The next 3 go up, you got another 60 days to wait. The next 3 go up 60 days after that. You're going out a whole half a year at that point.
That's absolutely right.
Are you sure if you send them all up at the same time?
I don't know. I think we can also contact the governor's office and coordinate to see what their understanding and how they're going to deal with this. We're the largest merit selection jurisdiction, so I think they want to make sure they have it right too.
So
I can't.
Are you thinking about sending up 3 groups of 3, or what is your idea on that? So we can do it at the same time, or what?
I don't know if that means that you send up 5 and you say, Governor, pick your first one, and then what's left, we give them a ranking order. Say, here's 1, 2, and 3. Pick from them for your first slot. Add in number 4 for your second slot. Add in number 5 for your third slot.
So you pick the top 5 and go with it.
That's one way of doing it.
Laura?
Well, it seems like we probably need to also understand what, Kelly mentioned, what the governor's going to do, from the governor's standpoint, because that may affect what we do. And so we probably need to understand what their perspective is on that before we make that decision.
Would it be helpful if I asked OJ, because I really can't give legal opinions because of my position as a justice, but we could ask OJA to give a legal opinion to the commission about what are options that can be considered without the necessity of giving the governor, without the necessity of the 60-day clock starting over every time, so that the governor could do them sequentially all on day 60 or day 58. Would that be helpful or not?
Yes, it would.
Let me just point out one other thing. The practical aspect of all this is the governor's not just selecting for us. She's selecting for many other positions. I don't know how many are merit jurisdictions. So she's going to be interviewing a bunch of people during the summer, which is vacation time, and during an election year when everybody's campaigning. So I think that the 60 days has to be considered, because that's going to be hard. It's hard when you're not trying to fill 20 positions.
So what are you saying, Kevin? Are you saying that we ought to give her 60 days between each selection, or that you're advocating that, or you're not advocating?
She took the job.
Yeah, I just say, just give them all to at once, and then figure out how many names we send up later. Like Greg was saying, we don't have to make that decision, but the candidates need to know how many names we're going to be sending up, whether it's 5, 6, 7, or whatever. But we don't need to make that decision. We just need to make decisions on when the next date is and what we're doing, and when the next date is to actually interview everybody. Because our next date is the one where we divide up the candidates and so forth.
Well, we decide who we're going to interview and divide them up.
Right.
And Greg had proposed we have one more meeting before the divide them up meeting to see if we can tell the applicants what it is that they can expect. Greg.
Actually, I had forgotten about our divide them up meeting, and that for Mike is that you pair up a layperson with an attorney to go interview each candidate. And we will have a meeting to do that. At that meeting, we could discuss the procedure
Correct.
for who we're going to send up and in what form. So we really don't need another meeting. We'll do that at the divide up meeting, which is after the applications are in.
And I think that's the right place to do that, because then we'll know how many applicants there are.
Right. And my follow up on that, when we get the applications, then we decide how many people we're going to interview.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we divide them up. But I do think it would be good for us to, I mean, have what the governor would do, because we could send them all up and the governor may do the one and then 60. I mean, I don't know how that works. So, and I haven't looked at it. It may be simple, it may not, but we can talk about that at our next meeting.
I'll see if judicial administration can draft a memo to that effect, because I'm sure that there are lots of districts that would find that to be helpful.
Evelyn, I think in our bylaws, in our rules, we got it already in there. So you can take a look at that. I think it's consistent with the statute. Well, at least I hope it is.
Yeah.
Well, we had that situation where Lee Davidson died after he had been nominated, but before
Correct.
it was chosen, and you had to substitute the name, and the 60 days started all over again. You know, in my opinion, the statute's not, you know, I wish it was more clear, but I think that if you can get a legal opinion from judicial administration, that might be helpful, might not be. I don't know.
That'd be great.
So then following up Greg's comment to that, you know, that we want to make sure people apply and we get a big pool of candidates. I think having this set on June 30th is a better date, because the application for someone who's never applied before is very onerous in terms of what they have to complete, the information that they have to gather. And we don't want to lose people. I have people be discouraged because they have a short time frame to gather that information, and they're like, yeah, forget it, I'm not going to apply because there's too much stuff. I don't know. That's my thought.
Well, I think any judge or former judge on the call would certainly confirm in capital letters that it is a really difficult process to do the application and go, you know, gather all of that information.
And then there's no excuses for being late, not being at Kevin's office by noon. And with the 15 copies, and we're good to go.
Okay, do you want to make one other thing? Do you want it to be in paper again? We've required paper in the past. That is something that, you know, even in this digital age, I guess anyway, it's a consideration. So it's part of your motion, Laura.
That is part of my motion, because and so for Mike, what we had discussed there, we wrestled with, do we let people submit them electronically or in paper? And we determined, because this is the application's confidential and all the information on the application's confidential, the best way to ensure that is to continue using paper. So I will move that it's a paper application, that the responses are due, the applications are due by noon on June 30th to Kevin's office, or I don't care, July noon on Thursday, June 30th. I think it's a Thursday. Yeah. And they're in paper.
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded, Steve?
James.
Oh, James seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, applications are due on, the motion is applications due June 30th at noon in paper only. All in favor, raise your right hand or raise your hand. either one will do. All right, motion carried. And then keying off of June 30th, the day to review the forms and assign responsibility for interviews to the commission members will be what date? How long after that? We've got a possibility of July 8 or July 15.
July 15th, doesn't it?
Well, that's quasi-annual meeting on July 15th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I'm not available, but I was thinking that July 18th, 19th, or 20th would be good. And it would give the KBI the time to do, because we're hoping we have lots, that'll give them only not even 3 weeks to do all the background.
Yeah. So 18th or 19th, is anyone not available on either of those 2 days?
I got a meeting.
I am not available on those days, but I'm not available the whole second half of July. So if that meeting goes ahead, you can pair me up with someone and I can connect for the background check.
Okay. Anyone else unavailable?
Rick is not on the 19th, but is on the 20th.
Okay. What about the 18th? Anyone not available on the 18th? Okay. How about Greg?
Just quickly, I don't want to exclude James from this. I don't want to exclude anybody. And he's also been very insightful in past efforts. The 18th doesn't give the KBI really any more time than the 15th, the Friday before. So I guess I'm going to ask James, are you available the 15th?
Laura's not available.
Laura's not available on the 15th.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
Laura and I are not available on the 15th.
All right. I tried, James. There.
And actually, I agree with your comments that, but usually that meeting is pretty pro forma, only to decide if we have so many applicants that we don't want to interview all of them, and then we do the assignments that day. So if you have to miss a day, that's probably the best day.
Actually, I like it when people miss. That way we can give them more to interview. And then we'll be able to look at.
That's right.
Okay, well, it looks like James is the only one not available on the 18th, and he's not going to be available that week or for the rest of the month. So does somebody want to make a motion for a time on the 18th?
I have a question.
Yes, Annabeth.
Will we be meeting live? I mean, I guess now that the COVID is better, that's one of my questions for this whole process. I would certainly like to interview the judge candidates live as opposed to Zoom.
Yeah.
Good point. Is there anyone who does not want to interview live?
I just looked at my calendar and I'm not available on the 18th.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I can meet in the morning, but I've got a couple of board meetings on the 18th that I have to attend, and starting at around 2:30 p.m.
Oh, well, we could meet in the morning
Okay.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Will you be back from Guam, Laura, by then? You're on mute.
Yes, ma'am. I'm hoping I'm back by the first part of June.
Okay, great. Well, how about does somebody want to make a motion for some time in the morning of the 18th for our date to review the forms, decide who you want to interview, and assign background check responsibilities?
8 o'clock.
Will that be live? Be in person?
Yes.
We don't have, no. We don't
we
have to
do
do that
that
one live.
Not for that
Yeah.
one, please. That one's going to be fairly short. I would agree that
Right.
the interviews ought to be live. And I'll do it all what you all want, but usually that date to review the forms, and I don't
That's
know.
a 45-minute or an hour meeting, and it's quick. So we'll do that one by Zoom, but the next one we absolutely have to do where we do the interviews in person.
Yes.
Kelly?
I'll throw out a thought. It looks like everybody's willing to do the interviews and wants to do the interviews in person, which I agree. And I'm going to propose that we do it here at the courthouse.
Yes.
Good idea.
Anybody object to that?
No.
No.
And then that way we know if they've been to the courthouse before. If they've not been to the courthouse before, I don't think they should be a judge.
All right. And Beth, I didn't mean to stomp all over your suggestion that we do the intermediate contact, the date to review forms to grant, to decide if you want to interview all of them and to assign responsibilities.
I maybe, we did everything in person prior to COVID.
Right.
And I felt there was a cohesive part of the group, getting to know one another, especially for those who are new, especially for lay people, perhaps are not so into the system. And I always found that fine. Now, I live close to the courthouse, so, it's not, I don't live in Topeka, so it makes it very simple for me. And I can go both ways, obviously.
Okay.
Do you want to vote on that, on in person?
Okay, we can do that. Raise your hand if you want to do those interviews by that interview, just the next one where we decide, we assign responsibility for background checks and decide if we don't want to interview anyone. If you want to do that one by Zoom, raise your hand.
This is the July 18th meeting we're talking about, correct?
Right.
Correct.
Yes, these are not the interviews.
Right.
These are not the official interviews. So if you want to do the intermediate one that is not the interviews, but we assign responsibilities for background checks, if you want to do that in person, raise your hand. 3, 4. Okay, and raise your hand again if you want to do it by Zoom. There were 4 in person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we're going to do that one by phone, the middle one. We will do the interviews in person. And so let's set the date for the Zoom conference to assign interview responsibilities for background checks.
I thought we did July the 18th.
We did. We haven't voted yet. Okay. July 18 at 10 o'clock has been moved by Laura, I believe.
Sure.
Who made the motion? Kelly. Kelly made the motion. Laura seconded the motion, I believe. And is there any other discussion?
I would propose 9 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock as a friendly amendment to that, since we're doing it by Zoom.
Okay. Laura, will you accept that? All right.
I will.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock on July 18th. And any discussion? Steve?
Yes, when are we going to determine who we're actually going to interview or not?
On the 18th.
18th at 9 o'clock has been proposed.
Just
Right.
based on their applications, we're going to determine those.
Their applications, and I believe we have the preliminary background checks.
I thought maybe we'd do it after we go out and talk to each of these individuals as we're assigned, but.
Hey, Steve, we're only talking about the meeting to decide who we're going to interview. We haven't picked the interviews of the applicants yet.
Okay.
This
I
is
was
what
confused on
suggested to be 8 o'clock. We decided 9 o'clock.
I understand
We
Yeah,
voted.
that, but after that, we're going to go out and talk to people, and then we'll get together and
Right.
decide when we
Right.
do the final interview with, right?
No, we usually pick who we're going to interview, and then we do the background conversations for everyone we chose to interview.
Correct.
Yeah. You have that
We don't do-
preliminary background first.
Oh,
That's the way we've always done it, Steve.
Yes, that's correct.
We're not changing anything. I mean, it's not, this isn't a change is what I'm trying to say. We're always done it that way.
okay.
The only change is being on Zoom. That's the only difference.
That's
Okay,
the only difference.
Did we vote? I don't remember.
we have not, we're still discussing. Is there any other discussion?
I would just throw out Tom Bath, last time we met, made an important point. I think we want to be real generous in terms of if somebody wants to be a judge, unless there's some significant reason not to interview them, we'll likely interview them. So I think that's a fair statement by Tom.
Kelly?
And to tag on with Rick is, especially when there's 3 slots open, if somebody wants to apply, we should give them an interview, because that, I've heard that from other people when they didn't get an interview, that that's a lot of work and really putting yourself out there to not even get a chance to interview.
Yeah, so it's a low barrier for a final interview. Good. All right.
It's been a long time since there's been 28 applicants for a position, so.
3 positions. It'll be interesting to see how many we actually get this time.
Well, if we only have 5, that makes it easy. We just send all of them up and don't have to do
There you
anything.
go.
We're done.
It's like that.
Any other discussion? All right, we have been going through this a little bit fast because most of us know what we're talking about, but I'm going to just back up a little bit. At 9 o'clock during the Zoom conference that we're getting ready to schedule, or 9 o'clock or whenever. What we do during that conference is, by that time, all of the commissioners have all of the applications that have been filed by June 30th. So you have been able to review everything that they've submitted, the forms, any letters of recommendation, and if they have publications that they want to submit, you've had a chance at least to do a cursory review of those application forms. And there also is a mini background check that is done by the Office of the Disciplinary Administrator. So we may have access to that as well. So if we do, that will also be considered. And then there are a couple of decisions that are made by the commission. The first is, based on the information that we have, do we want to interview everyone who has applied, or do we want to shorten that list of people that we're willing to interview? In the past, the interviews have been scheduled every 20 to 30 minutes. And so even with 7 or 8 people that we interviewed the last time, we didn't get finished with the actual interviews until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we started at 8 o'clock. So it's a big day, and it could be a big 2 days if you think about having more applicants for these positions. Also, after we decide who we want to interview, those people that we decide to interview are all assigned to a commissioner or 2 commissioners, if you will, depending on how many there are. And in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, based on my limited experience, usually there is an attorney member and a lay member assigned to each applicant. So for some commission members, you might have to double up with more than 1 applicant,
right,
or triple up. But those commission members, those commissioners have the primary responsibility to do a deep dive background check on the people to whom they are assigned. And so part of that might be to ask attorneys in the area, what do you know about this person? What's this person's reputation? To talk to those people, interview them. What are the strengths? What are their opportunities that these people have? And then at the interviews, if the commission wants to do so, there could be a executive session for limited reasons, which can include confidential background checks. And at that time, some of that information might be highly confidential.
It's very explicit though in the statute what can be an executive and what can't.
Yes, you're very correct, Mr. Griffith, and it is much narrower than it is generally for instance, a school board or a general agency. There are only very specific reasons, financial reasons, official background checks, I think is one of them, and confidential, well, I mentioned financial material. I'm blanking on the third one. Ethical complaints or results, those kinds of things. And I will read it to you before we go into executive session so that you have it very clearly in your mind. These are the only things we can talk about in executive session. The rest of it has to be an open session. So, you keep those things in mind.
Well,
Kevin.
Right. Can we go ahead and vote and then come back to this? Because my question is going to be, everybody that we talk to, how many times, you can ask any of these guys that's done it a while, they're going to say, if I tell you something, is it going to be confidential? And I don't know that we can say yes anymore, because the last time we did these interviews and we didn't get to talk about them. And so I'm wondering what the purpose of the interviews are if we're not going to be able to discuss anything, and especially if we can't promise this can be kept confidential.
Well, I think your point is good. You have to be upfront with them. If you don't know, then you probably need to tell them, and they may not tell you some things if they think if they don't know if it's going to be confidential. But at this second meeting, we do those assignments, and some of the purpose, I suppose, is to save redundancy so that every single commission member doesn't have to do a deep dive in every single applicant unless you want to. But you certainly can. It's just how much work you want to go into. But this way, we have some assurance that at least 2 commissioners have been specifically assigned to each person to do a deep dive in each one of those people. So we don't end up at the interviews not knowing as much about the people as we would like to. Annabeth.
I would like to clarify, especially for Mike, since he's new. I'm not disputing, I just want to clarify that when the applicants fill out these forms, they have to give past history of cases and people they worked with, opposing attorneys. And we don't just go out in the legal community and ask, what do you think? It's not a popularity thing. We follow up on the things that are listed in their form. Of course, you can ask others that you know, but I kind of want to make sure the public, as well as Mike, understood it. It isn't kind of that it's very, we have all this background to check and we have specific people to call. And on more than one occasion, I have had a judge that I was given the name to call say, well, it doesn't show up on time, but I guess he could be okay to be a judge. Right. You know what I mean? They're pretty people. It's amazing what people will tell you.
Yeah. You reach out.
Thanks, Annabeth.
Was there any judge in particular you wanted to mention there, Annabeth?
No, I'm going to keep them. I'm going to keep it quiet.
No, you don't have to. And I gave a lot of information, and if there's anything I've left out, please feel free to speak up. But those assignments are what we do in the next phone call. The phone call itself doesn't take very long. Usually, it's just the assignments, and so I thought you might want to know what those assignments mean. And
I would just throw out the other significant thing, Justice, is we are going to discuss and decide at that July 18 meeting about how many names we're sending up, et cetera, or is that not part of that meeting?
Yes.
So I guess my point is, I think it arguably will be longer than an hour, just because I think there's a lot of discussion that will go into that.
That's true. Good point. So let's go ahead and vote on the 9 o'clock Zoom on the 18th. Unless there's other critical discussion we want to have, I've got an indication that at least 1 or 2 people need to go. So
Could I add that we'll take all the time we need to get situated on our evaluation of the applications and who's going to be reaching out to who?
oh, absolutely. We'll always take all the time we need, and as long as we have a quorum, we can continue. And I've set aside all the time I need today too, but I know some people need to leave. So if you've got anything else you really want to discuss on setting that second meeting, I'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of 9 o'clock Zoom on the 18th of July. Raise your hand. All right, the motion carried. That will be it. So would you like to discuss the proposed dates to conduct the actual in-person interviews?
Yes.
Okay. Then what date, throw out some dates that you would propose. I've given some proposed dates that are available for me. So yes, Kelly.
I'm fine with August 16, 17, or 18.
Is anyone not available those days? August 16, 17, Tom Bath is not available any of those days?
Judge, I'm in trial the whole month of August.
The whole month of
And
August.
I'm out of town 16th, 17th, and 18th.
But I don't think that should, if you guys have to go forward, and there's nothing I can do about that.
Okay.
It may not be the whole month, but it's going to be darn close to it. Out of town.
Okay,
We have to publish. Do we have to publish when we're doing the interviews right now? Because
no, we do not. We can choose that later if you like.
Okay.
Or I can have Michelle send out some other proposed dates, and you can do a doodle or something like that. Yeah, Steve.
No, I would suggest we wait to set that date until we know approximately how many we will be interviewing, and that will kind of help us decide that.
Okay, Rick.
I'm concerned just because everybody's very busy. If we wait till July 18, August will be fully filled up with other commitments. I would prefer we go ahead and decide whether the 16th, 17th, and 18th work for the lion's share of us today.
It works for me. I have to leave for trial, so
okay.
You guys next time. I'll watch for the email.
Right. Does anyone object to a doodle that we set those? That's another possibility. We might be able to get them, like the first week of September, I'm available.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do something like this.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with any of those 3 dates. If I get confused on regarding doodle, whatever that is, I'm going on record as saying all 3 of those dates are good with me.
Okay.
So Michelle, you can remember that all 3 of those dates are good with me.
Well, we can reach out to you if you're having trouble with doodle. Just reach out to Michelle, and she can walk you through what that is or orally. Yes, Rick.
Yeah, I'm concerned about delaying until September. I just think we have this task that we're assigned to do, and I realize that we'd like to have full attendance for all these interviews, but I doubt if you'll ever get it. And I just am a proponent that we move forward with trying to find dates in August.
Okay.
When is the first day of school? Isn't it around August 20th?
I have no idea.
No, it seems to be earlier, Kevin, about the week before.
Kevin, you should know. Where's Kevin?
I do know, and I think it's around then, because I know a lot of our candidates will be taking vacations the week before school starts, and I was want everybody to keep that in mind. Because
That
if
is
we want
the week.
the candidates that we need to work.
Yeah, that is my issue with that week. I should be available on the 16th, but that is the week that new students are moving in to K-State. And so I'm taking my son there, probably on the 17th.
I just want to state
Just
that
so
I'm out. Annabeth is out for September. I won't be in town.
The whole September. Okay.
And Justice Wilson, are you unavailable that week after the 19th?
The week after the 19th of what? Of August?
August.
I am available on the 22nd and 23rd.
How's that work for people?
Well, we're still going to lose Tom.
Let me throw something out here, and it's probably not going to be popular, but how about a weekend meeting?
Ooh, hisses.
I know.
This would be, I think this is why the doodle approach is probably best, because then you can see what dates most people can make. And then you just draw the line.
Yes,
Yep.
Greg.
I agree with that. I just think, this is important. This is 3 judges, unprecedented. I want all 14 of us here if possible. So I would include the last 2 weeks of August and the first 2 weeks of September, just to see. I know sounds like we're never going to get more than 13, but let's figure out if the best days to get to 13 through the doodle poll. It's important that we have everybody here. That's why this commission is established the way it is. So we should try the best we can to do that, in my opinion.
May I throw out a suggestion that we simply send out a doodle for up until the, let's see what I've got, the second week of September. Yeah, I've got docket week, the 12th of September. So the week of the 19th. How about we send a doodle? Michelle, can this be done from approximately the first part of August or end of July, the very last week in July until the last week of September? Can we send a doodle for that period of time? Or is that too long?
I guess I like Greg's idea. The last 2 weeks of August, first 2 weeks of September. I'm concerned that we open it up to 60 days. I think a month.
Well, we're just going to ask everybody to let us know what your availability is during that 60-day period. And then we'll pick the best one as early as possible. Is that fair, Rick?
Yeah. Good idea. And are you
Sounds
going
good
to
to me.
if nothing else
Sounds
works?
good.
Sounds good.
All right. Do you want me to include weekends?
No.
Okay. That's,
Yeah, I prefer not.
yeah, Greg.
Yeah, Justice, I wouldn't start that doodle poll until at least the week of August 8th. Remember, we are all going to be out doing our background interviews for candidates starting no earlier than July 19th. So, and to get a hold of a bunch of attorneys and judges and personal references, 2 weeks is a minimum to do that.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. Yes, Annabeth.
I just want to go on record of having been at this for a while, and there have been a lot of times when we've been missing one person. It's pretty hard. Everyone involved in this is significant in the community. That's why they're involved. Busy people are busy, and it's hard to get them all together on one single day all the time. So I think we should strive to get everyone present, but I don't think that should hold us up. Since the time I was elected, I heard about how we needed more judges. We now have a chance to get them.
Well, and I might point out, it looks like we've got one person who is not going to be available in August at all, and one person who will not be available in September at all. I mean, we have to live with that. Unless we're willing to go to October, which I'm hearing now from just about everyone, we're going to be missing somebody. So if the choice is to go short one person and the consensus is to go earlier rather than later, then probably we are looking at the August dates, despite tragically or very disappointingly not having Mr. Bath there.
Because I understand and I agree. I don't think you can wait till October. I will tell you, I mean, we've set aside 3 to 4 weeks for trial. By the 29th, that week, I think there's a more than fair possibility I'll be done by then. But we'll send out the doodle and I'll put that information in there.
Okay, well, let me suggest then that we do a doodle for August 8th through the end of August. And you let me know. I mean, you can put tentative. I think that's a choice, Tom. So aiming for as close to the end of the month as possible, but not in September. Is that okay?
And for our purposes, we do have to have a quorum when we do the interviews, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll just remind you, when you are doing the doodle, please only communicate with me. I think there is a very narrow exception with regard to setting dates on the public, what has to be public. But if we're not on YouTube, we have to be very, very careful to make sure we follow the open meetings rules. All right.
One
Yeah.
last comment, Justice. Based upon the fact we had 8 interviews and it took us an entire day, I am going to be disappointed if we're not required to have 3 days of interviews. I just think there are going to be that many candidates, 20 plus candidates. So I guess what I'm saying is I hope everybody has their cap set. We may be doing interviews 3 days instead of 2 days.
Okay.
That is optimistic.
Thank you. That's right.
Yeah. Annabeth, are you by chance available either September or September 1st or 2nd or both? That's a Friday.
I don't know for sure, but possibly yes.
Okay, we'll send it out through September 2nd then. Okay. All right, and one other item of note, the last time, and Kevin, I'm glad you're still able to be with us. The rules of procedure document, the last time the whole commission signed those rules was in 2012, and that is posted on the commission website. So I think probably we ought to do a new one or an acknowledgement of that document that you've read the rules, you agree to follow the rules. Michelle, help me. Anything else really on that certificate?
Well, after reading it, most of the stuff that you gave a background on how the process went is in that packet. So it's sending it out would be a good idea. So
yeah,
Right.
here's how we did it back then. We sent it out, and then you send it all out by email, and then we sign where our name is, and then email it back to you, and then you have the email copy with everybody's signature.
Okay.
Kind of like we did with the voting during Zoom, because everybody does need to acknowledge that.
All right, we'll go ahead and do that again. So if you can expect that will be coming to you probably electronically. Sign and send it back.
Thank you, John, for helping us out with this. Thank you.
I'm sure. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we adjourn? Let me check my agenda again. Anything, and then the time. Yes, Annabeth.
Well, I brought up at the end of our last meeting, and we don't have to discuss it today. I know I have someplace to be, and I appear to me that others do as well. But I have interviewed the same judge submission candidate 3 times now. And because the way we choose how you go is we put the names in the jar and pull them out. And so I submitted at the end of our last judge selection meeting that I would like to make that not possible, even though, that also I have had the same attorney, excuse me, guys, that a partner many times. And I think it's better to mix everybody up, but particularly it's unfair to the applicants to have me be 3 times go to somebody instead of them getting to have another commissioner, get to know them more personally and do the background check on them. So I don't know, that doesn't have to be, that's just a policy of our behavior. It doesn't have to be in writing anywhere. We just have to discuss.
Any ideas for a good way to pair people up and assign people? I'm all ears. And you don't have to give it to me today. If you think of something, just let me know.
Well, if you pull a name out, it's the name you've interviewed before, just put the name back in, pull a different name.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. That seems a simple way. All right. If there's nothing else, I just want to let you know that I've been informed by Winnie that we will still be on YouTube for a few seconds after we adjourn or after we sign off. So,
don't say anything you don't want to read
or something. Yeah. Yes, Greg.
Justice, I think for everybody's purpose, one of our duties as a commission member is to recruit candidates and to make sure, and it's in our rules to tell them, just because I solicit you as a candidate doesn't mean I'm going to support you, and will not mean I'm going to support you necessarily. But I think it's important for all of us to do that if we want to get this pool. And to that end, I did confirm, I think one thing that has discouraged people from applying in the past is the salary that stayed basically flat. Judges, you can tell me, for 8 or 9 or 10 years. With the raises the legislature has approved and the governor signed for as of July 1 this year, the salary will be approximately $148,000. So we're still probably number 48 or 9 in the country for district court judges, but it is something I think individual attorneys may not know. It's gone up significantly in the last couple of years. So as in our duty to recruit, letting people know that the salary now approaches $150,000 is maybe helpful to get some people to at least look at it this time.
Thank you very much, Greg. Good point. And I can tell you from personal experience that when I was thinking about being a judge and asked a couple of people what they thought and got a positive response, that means a lot. I'm not sure I would have applied if people would have said, I don't know, your personality isn't really suited to be neutral or to have that equanimity you kind of have to have as a judge, or whatever. I mean, I was encouraged, and that meant a lot to me. So please do reach out to people that you think will be a good judge or might be a good judge. It is very important. It means a lot to people. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for your patience. Unless there's something else that you need to talk about, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, Annabeth, who seconds?
Second.
All right, Rick, and any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Or raise your hand. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, and watch for that doodle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.